of the English Premier League continues to enthrall us all, and that's mostly for good reasons, but an awful lot of it isn't for good reasons. However, it's beginning to sort itself out, and this weekend and last weekend were particularly illuminating, especially in the case of Arsenal, which is, interesting, very interesting. I think it's a team I've had doubts about them, about their zest for the battle and the bit of steel that you do need to be champions. However, my guest this morning, as usual, is John Giles, a great player in a great team in his day, and of course an outstanding coach who won everywhere he coached, really. Nowhere more, actually, than when he took over as Ireland manager and professionalised the setup and introduced great players like Liam Brady and so on. Frank Stapleton, Mark Lawrence, and lots of good players. John, thanks for joining us as always.
No bother, Eamon.
Now, John, let's look at the Arsenal situation. 2 games, they beat Burnley 5-0 on Saturday at Burnley. But the previous week's 6-0 win at West Ham against the David Moyes team was really quite spectacular. And I know we've more or less shared a view that they wouldn't have the bit of steel and indeed the depth in their squad to see it all the way through. But speaking to you yesterday, you're beginning to think now they have got it.
Yeah, well, the recent displays, Eamon, that's all we can go on. They've been very, very good.
Yeah, the Liverpool game before that as well, when they wiped Liverpool out really at home.
Yeah, well, that's going back a little while by football standards. But I think Arteta himself has calmed down a bit, Eamon, and I think that's a help. Instead of dashing around doing the stuff, the team is out there playing, and they're playing extremely well.
Yep.
They've got, Declan Rice, all they got sacked. There's a few players, Trossard.
That Trossard came from Brighton, and he's come into the team now.
Yeah.
He's
really good.
Surefire goal scorer, John. He doesn't miss many.
No. He got rid of Xhaka. Do you remember the old Xhaka guy?
I'll tell you where Xhaka is. I don't think I told you, but I watched Bayern Leverkusen and Bayern Munich last Saturday. And I watched it to see how Xabi Alonso was getting on. They're top of the German league, and now they had this big game against Bayern. I told you at the time, and indeed I told our listeners, that I had a look at the whole 90 minutes of that game. It was a home game for Bayern Leverkusen. And who's their star man? Xhaka. He's in midfield. He's calmed down. He's playing as a kind of midfield playmaker. There's none of the old stuff we used to get at Arsenal. He was an idiot. I think we got kicking people, screaming at referees, all gone.
Good.
Yeah,
he's the manager got a new man then. Yeah.
Well, the manager ticked another box. I can fix maniacs.
Yeah.
Sorry. Anyway, I interrupted you about Arsenal.
No, not at all, Damon. No, I didn't know where he was, but I think it was the only point it was making. It was good of Arteta to get rid of him.
Yes,
because of all the trouble that he caused at Arsenal.
Yep.
So if he's gone elsewhere and he's calmed down, good luck to him. But I think Arteta getting rid of him was a big plus for Arsenal.
Yeah. Now, one of the key arguments or discussions amongst past players, yourself, Graham Souness, great players, of course, and Roy Keane, has been about Declan Rice and about the contribution he's making and how good is he. My own view is it doesn't matter so much. I mean, if you've got 3 great midfield players like you guys, it matters certainly in Souness's case and in your case, your judgment. And the thing that was being said was he doesn't get enough goals and he doesn't get enough assists. Therefore, compared to Keane, compared to Souness, and compared to you, because you got more goals than I think averaging 14 a season. Tell me, my view is he's been the key to giving him a bit more steel, a bit more presence in that vital area of the field where the tempo is set and you need to be really competitive. But more importantly, your own view of that.
Well, yes, Simon, he's been a huge influence in the side and a big player for him since he's gone in. But players can be influential in different ways.
Yes.
I mean, you can get a goal-scoring midfield player who's influential.
Yes.
You know, you can get a defensive midfield player who's influential. I think Declan Rice is not a goal-scorer. He's not necessarily a great dribbler of the ball and making goals. But what he does extremely well, Eamon.
Yeah.
He's a really fit lad, very, very quick, very well balanced, who can cover the ground extremely well, going forward and obviously probably getting back more than anywhere else.
Yeah.
So I don't think he's ever going to be a goal scorer. But if you have other players in the team who are scoring goals and you have him as an extra doing what he does, that's what makes a team.
Yeah, he reads the game well, John. Sorry.
Well, he does read the game well. He's got that in him. He's more influential defensively than he is attacking wise.
Yeah.
But you have to get the ball to go forward.
Yes.
So I'll just go back to my time. We had Bremner and myself, two little fellas in the middle of the field. And one player we had in for seasons was Paul Madeley.
Yes.
Now, Paul Madeley wasn't a midfield player as such. He didn't score goals. He didn't make goals. But when we didn't have the ball, I mean, he was brilliant.
Yeah.
Because he suited what Bremner and I were doing in that particular way, because the team is made up of different situations. And when I see Rice playing, I think he's better, more influential, winning the ball, getting it back, and giving it to the players who do score and do make goals.
Yes. Yeah.
That's how you get a team. And that's how I see him. And he's very, 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 very valuable player for us, there's no doubt. And as Paul Madeley was with Leeds when we were there. Now, he didn't get much publicity because Bremner scored a few goals, I scored goals, and we were better on the ball. But he was badly needed. And I think Rice is very, very good on the ball in what he does, which is to get the ball back and give it to players that can play, as they say.
Yeah, I mean, Saka, for example, who I think is England's national, scored again on Saturday. He's a goal scorer and a goal maker. I think he's a very, very good player, isn't he? And a lot of the time when Rice is on the ball, he looks for Saka, and they have Martinelli, who's this young left winger, and they play with two wingers, which is quite unusual, John, isn't it?
It's most unusual, Eamon, and they can do it.
Yeah.
You know, you have players who can play on the wing. So in Rice's case, he used to get the ball to those guys. I just wrote a couple of names down. They've got Odegaard, Saka, Smith Rowe, Trossard, Martinelli, and they're the players who need somebody to get the ball. That's how you get a team, Eamon. You know, as you well know, you can't have. Well, it's very seldom that you can have 6 players of the same type.
Yeah.
You know, because you have to mix it up a little bit. And that's why I go back to my time at Leeds with Bremner and myself. Paul Madeley was great at covering the ground and getting the ball. And as soon as he got it, then you give it to that's how you get a team going.
Yes.
And I think Rice does that in a big way.
Yeah, the late Nobby Stiles, your brother-in-law, was one of the greatest players ever to play for United and played in the England World Cup team.
Yes.
And a winning team.
Bobby Charlton needed him.
Exactly. And Ramsey appreciated him. Alf Ramsey, who managed that team, appreciated him for his ability to read. He was a great reader of the game, John, wasn't he?
Yes.
Only a little guy, but interceptions. He wasn't a kicker, although he had the reputation. He wasn't.
Well, he could get stuck in.
He'd get stuck in, but he wouldn't. It wasn't the most important thing in his armoury.
No. Nobby was a lad who was very, very quick. Eamon.
Yeah.
Covered the ground great and tenacious.
Yes.
And had enough sense to know he wasn't a Bobby Charlton.
Yes.
Now, when he got it, he gave it to Bobby Charlton. That was his game. He didn't try to be tricky or try to be show off in any way. He had this common sense, said, that's what I'm there for. That's what I do. I give it to Bobby, and Bobby needed that in a big way.
Of course,
We all need things in a certain way.
Just to hark back, I hate to hark back really, and we don't do much of it, but I remember in that World Cup, which I actually went to a lot of the matches, I was playing for Millwall at the time, in the semi-final, they played Portugal, and Eusebio, who was a great player, Nobby marked him
for
90 minutes, and Eusebio, who really was one of the best players we've ever seen. He's not a name that's invoked very much now alongside Pele and other great players, but he was deadly.
Oh yeah, he was brilliant. Yeah,
and Nobby kept him quiet for 90 minutes.
Yeah, but that was Nobby's game, and Nobby knew that. Nobby never got carried away when he won the ball to try and be tricky himself.
Yeah,
he was humble enough to get it, knew what he could do and what he couldn't do, and give it to Bobby. Bobby loved him.
Yeah.
Bobby couldn't tackle a hot dinner. Bobby was one of the greatest players of all time, but he couldn't tackle anybody. But Nobby could get that, and that's how you got to get a team again. And I think getting back to Rice, I think that's what he does with Arsenal, Eamon.
Right.
And the thing about Rice, I think when he gets older, Eamon, I think he'll be a top-class centre-back.
Right.
I think he'll be a Bobby Moore, the Beckenbauer situation. Because both of those lads, Bobby Moore, I've never played against him. He was a midfield player, Eamon, in my time with West Ham.
Right.
And Beckenbauer, as you know, was a midfield player.
He was. Originally. I played against him 3 times, John, believe it or not. Yeah. He was deadly.
He said you scared him to death.
Scared him to death. No, but he was actually in the World Cup final. Alf Ramsey asked Bobby to mark him, which I thought was a remarkable tactical requirement.
I don't know. I don't believe that.
No, but they say it. I have to put it on the record.
Bobby, nobody would ask Bobby to mark anybody.
No, I know that, but
nobody would have marked Beckenbauer in the final.
Yeah, and
if anybody, it doesn't matter anyway. But I mean, Bobby couldn't mark anybody.
No, but to go back to your point, is you think that Declan Rice could be like a Beckenbauer type of player?
Yes, I do. I think he's enough ability, Eamon. I think he's quick, and as he gets older, which everyone gets older, I think he'll have the experience. I think he'll have the technique to be a really, really top-class centre-back.
His character is impeccable, isn't it, John? And his contribution to every game. You know what you're going to get. He seems to be a good lad. He seems capable of the leadership requirements in that position as well. There isn't any fault in his temperament or indeed in his character that we can see. No,
he's really good. I mean, he looks a really good lad. I don't know him at all. None of us know him well. But you see what people are on the pitch, I mean, it's one great thing about football.
Yeah.
You can't hide anything on the pitch.
No.
If he was a selfish lad or he was this lad, that lad, you'd see it. We all can see it in different players. But you can see him, he's a team player.
Yes.
I'd say he's very, very popular with the lads. He gets on with the job. He doesn't try to be, he's never flashy in any way. And, he seems to be really, really top class type of lad.
Now, you surprised me, John, when you said to me, I think you said to me on Saturday, when we were talking about the various matches we'd seen and so on, that for the first time, you are now beginning to believe that Arsenal can win the Premier League.
Yes. I think the last couple of matches I've seen them play, Eamon, not the one, because they won well. They won well on the weekend. It was a couple of matches back.
Yeah.
I think it was probably at home.
It could have been a Liverpool game, John.
It could have been, Eamon.
Yeah. They really should have scored more goals against Liverpool. They let Liverpool off the hook, but for 45 minutes, the first 45 minutes, they slaughtered Liverpool.
Yeah, I think Arteta's settled down a bit, Eamon. I think he's looking at it in a certain way now, and he's getting on with the job. And instead of causing controversy by his behaviour, which is silly, let the lads play and get out, and they're doing their stuff. They are doing their stuff. They've done it in a big way. So I do see them as contenders now. Before that, I thought, no, he's messing around a bit too much. They're a young team, but what I've seen of them recently, they've been really, really good when the pressure's been on. Right.
I'm going to put it on the record. I will be very, very, very surprised if they win the league, John, because I don't think they have the depth in the squad or the quality that Liverpool and Manchester City have. But I take the point you're making, and they're very important to make. Let me now ask you about, we saw a remarkable match. Chelsea went to play Manchester City, 5:30 on Saturday night, and Raheem Sterling scored the first goal for Chelsea, who are having a nightmare, not least with injuries. He can't barely pick a team. Sterling going back to where he played. City were all over them, John, early on, and then a breakaway. They're giving goals away. We remarked on this several times in recent weeks, John. They are giving goals away they shouldn't be given, and this was certainly in that category. Nevertheless, they're 1-0 down. And from there, what did you make of it? I mean, I put my own spake in first. I thought City had enough chances to win 3 games.
Oh, they didn't take. Well, any team that doesn't take their chances, I mean, they got Haaland back playing.
Yeah.
I just saw a thing in the paper, saw it amazing. Somebody having a real go at Haaland.
What?
Because of his heading.
Oh, yeah. He missed a sitter.
I mean, he's missed a couple of chances, but like he only has to miss a couple of chances with a header, and he's getting it going off in the paper, which is ridiculous. Yeah. But I think when they are attacking Eamon, I think they're pushing up too much. It sounds very simple,
yes,
but I think they're pushing up too much to close
yes.
Because a long ball over the head, and it's a race on goal.
Yeah. Yeah.
In the matches I see. Now, that shouldn't happen.
Yeah, I think it happened to Brentford a few weeks ago.
Yeah.
And the goalkeeper also is beginning to make 1 or 2 mistakes. But that point, and it was a factor in Sterling's goal at the weekend. They had pushed way too high up the pitch without any anchor, really.
Yeah, that's exactly. I mean, they have to have an anchor. They have to. So if it's going down the left side, and the right back should be. In the old days, anyway, the right back would be on the cover. Not push. All right, you can push up when the ball's on your side of the field, but you can't have 4 pushing up together, 4 fullbacks pushing up together. And I think that's what they're doing. And it should be a very simple thing to stop, which is to say to defenders, don't get so close up. Give yourself a little bit of room if it goes over your head.
Yeah,
and that's why all teams, no matter who they play against, is going to knock it over your head at times.
Yeah.
So I don't know why he's doing that. It's not necessary. But they did have chances to win the game.
Yeah, they did. They had more than enough chances. Yeah, and I think Haaland, he missed 2 or 3. The header was actually, I think I could have knocked that one in myself. But I wouldn't be a few weeks or a few years before I start criticising Haaland. I mean, what he's done has been amazing, and he appears to have great character and everything you'd really want in a player. One player, John, that I should mention is Rodri. I think both of us, again, well, certainly you, were extremely sceptical about Rodri. He was the person who, it was the equaliser was an own goal, but effectively it was a fierce shot from Rodri, who was, when they were chasing the game, late in the game as well, with about 5 or 6 minutes to go. There are amazing statistics that show how important he is to Manchester City. He missed 3 games recently on suspension. They lost them all. Now, I've said it. I won't lay it on you. He scored the winning goal in the Champions League as well, in the final. But we've really been critical of him. I think you and I in conversation. And I have to say, I know statistics can be abused and they can be used to prove the wrong thing or disprove the right thing. His presence in the team seems to be very important.
Well, he is a good player, Eamon, but he's not he can go on stats all the time. I mean, if you look at his goal scored record, I think that's probably his first goal since it's just his general play. He's a very, very good player, but I expect more of him when he gets on the ball, Eamon. I expect him to score more goals.
Exactly. And what he just does is he plays it off. He gets it.
Yeah,
he wins it.
Stats will always be good because he instead of trying to put somebody through, or the first thing he does is knock it sideways. But not all the time, but most of the time he knocks it sideways. And I think midfield players should be looking. I think he should be scoring more goals as well in that team. Of course, he's a good player and he's valuable to him. But I mean, it can happen that the stats show when he's not playing, and it's like stat show everywhere. If somebody's playing that scored more goals or whatever it might be, but he plays a lot of matches, Eamon. But a lot of times I watch him play when he gets the ball in the middle of the field, looking to put somebody through, do something. Not all the time, but it always seems to be he's passing it sideways. His stats are going to be very, very, very good, and he's playing in the top team. But I think from that position, midfield players in City could be scoring more goals.
Yeah, I think what he does is there's a hole there in midfield that he patrols. I'd call him a policeman almost. He patrols that area and he wins a lot of balls. He blocks up a lot of danger and gets in and stops dangerous situations before they develop. It's not unlike what Declan Rice does for Arsenal, except Rice has more about him when he's on the ball.
Oh, definitely. Rice does a lot more on the ball than Rodri does. I mean, although Rice doesn't score many goals, but he does look to use the ball. When I was a young player, you knew Jimmy Murphy at Old Trafford. He was brilliant.
Yeah.
And Jimmy Murphy was one of the most knowledgeable guys I ever met in football.
Bobby Charlton said
he was in charge of the U team. And you knew him.
I did.
And Jimmy Murphy said, when you get on the ball, John, in the middle of the field, the first thing you look for, can you put somebody through?
Yeah.
That's the first thing you look for. And he said, if it's a 50-50 chance, it's worth it. Because you're putting through somebody through on the goal.
Yeah.
That was the first thing. I'd say if Jimmy Murphy was dealing with Rodri, I'd say I'd give him a telling off straight away.
Yeah.
Look for more on the ball. Look for put somebody through. If it's on, it's on. If it's not on, and sometimes you do it because it's 50-50 that he's going to score a goal.
Yeah.
I never forgot that.
There were heated debates, John, back in the day. I mean, Matt Busby presided over the building of a great club. From in the post-war era. He went there in 1945 and until the Munich air crash in 1958 and beyond, until they won the European Cup as it then was, the Champions League as it is now in 68. Matt Busby was the man. But there are people, and Noel Cantwell, the late Noel Cantwell, who was a great thinker about the game, felt that Jimmy was underestimated hugely. And he was treated very badly by United at the finish, John, as you know, and I know very well, very badly. I mean, they took his taxi docket off him. It was £4 each way. However, there is a question about the great Busby Babe team, 8 of whom died in the Munich air crash, that Jimmy was really somebody who never really got the credit for the kind of players that he made, Bobby being one of them, Duncan Edwards, and so on and so on.
Yes.
And you'd be in a very good position to reflect on that. Do you have any reflection on it?
Yeah, Jimmy was the most knowledgeable guy I met in the game, Eamon, as a coach.
Yeah.
He was a hard man.
Yeah. Yeah.
Hard. He demanded a lot, which was great for all the players.
Yeah.
He definitely wouldn't have been able to do what Matt Busby did.
No, different. He didn't have. He wasn't a politician.
Great team. Matt Busby was very, very clever in that he recognised what Jimmy Murphy could do.
Yes.
And let him do it.
Yes. He never stood, because if you did the same as I did then. When you go first, when you're in the U team, who's in charge of the U team? Jimmy Murphy. Yes.
When you were getting into the reserves, which was from the U team, really, Jimmy Murphy.
Yeah.
Matt Busby never interfered in what Jimmy Murphy did.
No.
Jimmy Murphy would say, and I know this for a fact, I think Joe Bloggs is ready.
Yes.
Now, Matt Busby would watch them in the reserves, but he never come into the dressing room in the U team or the reserves when I was there.
Absolutely
Jimmy did all that.
Yes.
But I think that Jimmy, as a manager, Eamon, wouldn't have made it.
Dealing with the board and all of that stuff.
But dealing with the players, Eamon.
Yes.
He was hard. I played in a match one time in the reserves and I missed a penalty in the dressing room, and he gave me a right going over. And I was actually crying, believe it or not. And the next day was a Christmas where you played 3 matches over the 4 days. And we played the next day at Old Trafford. And we won. I scored in the match. Tapper scored in the match. And they used to let you go home at Christmas.
Yes.
And the only thing Jimmy said to me was, tell your dad I'm pleased with you.
Yeah.
Now, that was an apology.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And of course, your late father, would have known, because he was a great football man. He would have known exactly what that meant. You know, the only thing I ever remember him saying was, and the first rule of Jimmy Murphy at the time was, Eamon, when you get the ball, give it to a red shirt. And everyone had that. I mean,
yes.
That basic thing, you think, well, that's easy. But actually give it to a red shirt, and the momentum comes from that basic first pass, doesn't it? I was a midfield player.
It sounds very simple.
Yeah.
But there's lots of players play, as you know, Eamon, who don't give it to a red shirt.
No.
They try something something stupid, you know?
Yeah, absolutely. But the game, the game isn't simple, but at its best, it can be made simple. Just a final question about Liverpool, John. They are now hit by a bad injury crisis. It looks, they're saying today that Jota might be out for the season, which is desperate. He was playing so well.
Yeah.
And this young lad, Jones, got the two players carried off on Saturday when they beat Brentford. They look good. They've such a deep squad, John. But nevertheless, the injuries they're shipping are desperate.
Well,
they're not the only club now.
I know, but Liverpool are a very, very successful team, Eamon. They're in all competitions, and unfortunately, we keep going on about there's too many matches anyway. But you need a big panel, and you're bound to get injuries.
Yes.
As you say, I think it's Jones, Jota, Nunez have received injuries. You're bound to get them, Eamon.
Yeah.
And even without people hurting you or bad tackling you, as you said, the hamstrings alone.
Yeah.
It's taking too much out of the players. I don't think it can be done.
No, there's 3 times as many hamstring injuries. I looked at the stats this morning, over 2,000, and this was up to December, than any other injuries. And after that, it's muscle injuries in general, which is calf strains and all of that stuff.
Yeah, it's a tough task. I mean, just to keep safe from injuries is in itself a big problem. And it's difficult, but Liverpool are there. That's what. If you didn't play so many matches and you weren't so successful, then you wouldn't have the blooming injuries, Eamon. So you have to take the ones that Liverpool are taking, which is to go with the injuries as best they possibly can. It's very difficult.
Now, just before we finish, John, obviously Liverpool, Arsenal, Man City are the 3 teams. Aston Villa, who I thought were gone, they've come back with a bit of a bang. Well, I did think they were gone last week. They should have beat United, but they went to Fulham and won 2-1. And this lad, Ollie Watkins, got 2 goals, hadn't scored for a while. I want to ask you about the 3. It's right to say, isn't it now? Liverpool, Arsenal, Man City. I still think City, but it's hard, isn't it, John? To call at the moment.
It's the way it should be, Eamon. You can't. It's great to have 3 teams in the race. That's
exactly.
The big thing. Instead of one team running away with it, and it's all over and that. That's going to be a great finish.
Right.
Great finish.
Okay, and your money is on. No, I'm not going to pin you down to that. That's ridiculous. I have doubts myself about Liverpool. I have serious doubts about Arsenal, and I have fears about Manchester City, John.
I wouldn't put any money on any of them, Eamon. Let's put it that way.
Just enjoy watching it, yeah?
Yeah, I enjoy watching it, yeah.
Wait for Pep to drop Haaland. Okay.
Yeah, it's not handling the ball properly.
Okay, we're grateful to John Giles, one of the greats